This week, we got a detailed look at the budget and personnel cuts proposed at the University of Montana as the school continues to deal with declining student enrollment and a $10 million budget deficit. President Seth Bodnar called the report a strategy for distinction before unveiling the comprehensive report to the Faculty Senate. Everyone on campus has known the day was coming as the administration grapples with a way to not only stop the flow of red ink, but to realign UM as a stronger institution going forward, and more than anything, a school that will attract and help students. MTN's Dennis Bragg has more.
We have endeavored to identify the ways in which we can keep our offerings to students and give our students the best, highest quality education and the most offerings and most options as possible while addressing our budget issues. And the recommendations that will follow are a result of a deep analysis. We recognize that that analysis is not perfect, and that's why this is the beginning of a discussion.
Bodnar took the podium at Tuesday's Senate faculty to explain the philosophy behind the cuts and changes proposed by the University Planning Committee, a package which will eliminate or consolidate programs and course offerings and result in more layoffs over the next 3 years. The objective is to stop the flow of red ink, what he calls a structural deficit of spending, which could grow to $10 million in 3 years if left unchecked. But it's more than just cuts. The preliminary recommendations are the action items for a comprehensive review of UM's mission statement and how to realign the university to attract students looking for more specific degrees geared to future careers. To do that, he encouraged the campus community to review the adjustments as if they were starting from scratch, envisioning what UM can become, to plant a flag so UM is a destination for students looking for specific skills. And he's encouraging everyone to review those recommendations, keeping in mind they aren't perfect and are looking at reductions by areas and not by individuals.
These numbers are approximate. Those numbers align in areas. They are not associated with individuals. And third, we expect a very large proportion of these to occur over the next 3 years through attrition and natural departures.
In Missoula, Dennis Bragg, MTN News.
Here's a breakdown of the top 5 departments impacted by the proposed UM cuts. The College of Humanities would lose 16.5 full-time equivalent positions. The proposal would discontinue majors in French, German, Spanish, Russian, Classics, and Area Studies by consolidating into 2 major areas: Asian Studies and European Studies. The College of Sciences would lose 8 full-time staff and would create a division of Physical Sciences and a division of Mathematical Sciences, Economical, and Computer Sciences. The College of Visual and Performing Arts would lose 6 full-time staff and combine the School of Arts and Media Arts. The Interdisciplinary Program would lose 6 positions. The proposal would discontinue the Global Humanities and Religions program. The Social Sciences program would stand to lose 4 and create a division of social sciences that includes anthropology, sociology, and linguistics, and integrate the School of Journalism with communication studies. UM officials stress that development of this preliminary plan will continue in the coming weeks and months. There will be 3 more presentations where President Bodnar will share his preliminary recommendations. The first is April 20th, where President Bodnar and members of the UPC will host a campus forum for all employees. April 24th and 26th, the Faculty Senate will host listening sessions open to all faculty and staff. The public can also go online to comment on the proposal. All the information is on the KPAX News app. Just look under Seen on KPAX. The proposed budget and curriculum changes must also meet the approval of the University Board of Regents, which will be meeting in Havre later next month.